Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's recent state visit to the United States, marked by high-profile meetings with President Joe Biden and other key U.S. officials, highlights the growing strategic partnership between the two largest democracies in the world while also underscoring the inherent complexities and contradictions within this evolving relationship. Over the past 2 decades, the U.S.-India partnership has deepened significantly, shifting from one of mutual suspicion during the Cold War to one of cautious alignment in the post-Cold War era. Central to this transformation has been a recognition of shared strategic interests, particularly in countering China's growing influence in the Indo-Pacific, fostering economic growth, advancing technological collaboration, and addressing global challenges such as climate change and pandemics. The Biden administration has doubled down on efforts to strengthen ties with India, emphasizing the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue partnership involving the US, India, Japan, and Australia, as well as joint initiatives in defense, clean energy, and advanced technologies such as semiconductor manufacturing and AI. Modi's visit was strategically significant, symbolizing not only a renewed commitment to deepening bilateral ties, but also a calculated maneuver to project India as a key player on the global stage. However, beneath the optics of camaraderie and shared objectives lie deep and unresolved tensions that complicate the relationship. India's geopolitical aspirations have always been defined by a commitment to strategic autonomy, a principle that Modi has championed even as India has drawn closer to the US on various fronts. Unlike traditional US allies that align unequivocally with Washington's policies, India has charted its own path, balancing relationships with competing powers such as Russia and China while seeking to bolster its influence in the global south. This foreign policy independence is both a strength and a challenge in the US-India dynamic. On one hand, it enables India to act as a bridge between major powers, facilitating dialogue and cooperation on critical global issues. On the other hand, it limits the scope of US-India alignment, particularly on contentious issues like Russia's invasion of Ukraine, where India has maintained a neutral stance despite Western efforts to isolate Moscow. Modi's visit to Washington thus reflected a delicate balancing act, affirming India's partnership with the US while avoiding overt commitments that could compromise its ties with other strategic partners. The US, for its part, has increasingly recognized that India is not seeking to become a formal ally, but rather a cooperative partner with its own priorities and constraints. This understanding is crucial to managing expectations and fostering a sustainable relationship. A key area of convergence between the US and India lies in their shared concerns over China's assertiveness in the Indo-Pacific. Both nations view China's military buildup, economic coercion, and territorial ambitions as significant threats to regional stability. For India, these concerns are amplified by its ongoing border disputes with China, particularly in the Himalayan region, where clashes between Indian and Chinese forces have intensified in recent years. The US has sought to leverage India's strategic location and growing military capabilities to counterbalance China's influence, offering defense partnerships and technology transfers to enhance India's role as a security provider in the region. During Modi's visit, the two countries announced a series of agreements aimed at deepening defense cooperation, including joint production of jet engines and the purchase of advanced US drones. These initiatives reflect a mutual interest in strengthening India's defense infrastructure while fostering interoperability between their armed forces. However, India's reluctance to join formal security alliances like NATO and its continued reliance on Russian defense equipment underscore the complexities of aligning US-India defense strategies. Economic collaboration is another cornerstone of the US-India partnership, driven by shared interests in fostering innovation, creating jobs, and building resilient supply chains. Modi's visit highlighted several initiatives aimed at boosting bilateral trade and investment, particularly in emerging sectors such as clean energy, digital technology, and advanced manufacturing. The US sees India as a critical partner in diversifying global supply chains away from China, particularly in the production of semiconductors and renewable energy technologies. India, in turn, views the US as a key source of investment, expertise, and market access to accelerate its economic development. The two nations announced plans to establish new trade and investment frameworks, expand cooperation in high-tech sectors, and facilitate the movement of skilled workers between their economies. These initiatives align with Modi's vision of transforming India into a global hub for innovation and manufacturing, a goal encapsulated in his Make in India campaign. However, trade disputes and protectionist policies on both sides remain significant obstacles to realizing the full potential of this economic partnership. Issues such as intellectual property rights, data localization, and market access for agricultural products continue to create friction, requiring sustained dialogue and compromise. Despite these areas of cooperation, the US-India relationship is not without its challenges, particularly concerning human rights and democratic governance. Under Modi's leadership, India has faced criticism for what many observers see as democratic backsliding, including restrictions on press freedom, the erosion of judicial independence, and the marginalization of minority communities. These developments have raised concerns among US lawmakers and advocacy groups, who argue that India's internal policies are at odds with the democratic values that underpin its partnership with the US during Modi's visit. These issues were a focal point of protests and public debate, with critics calling on the Biden administration to address human rights concerns more forcefully. However, the US government has largely avoided direct confrontation on these issues, prioritizing strategic and economic interests over ideological alignment. This approach reflects a pragmatic recognition that pressuring India on human rights risks alienating a critical partner at a time when global power dynamics are shifting rapidly. For India, the criticism of its domestic policies is often viewed as an infringement on its sovereignty, further complicating efforts to build mutual trust and understanding. Modi's visit also underscored the growing importance of technology and innovation in the US-India relationship. Both nations recognize that advancements in areas such as artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and biotechnology will play a critical role in shaping the future global order. To this end, the visit saw the launch of several joint initiatives aimed at fostering innovation and research collaboration, including partnerships between leading universities and technology firms in both countries. These efforts are particularly significant in the context of the global semiconductor race, where the US and India are working to build a resilient and secure supply chain. India's burgeoning tech industry, coupled with its large pool of skilled workers, positions it as a key player in these efforts. At the same time, the US's expertise and resources provide critical support for India's ambitions to become a global leader in technology and innovation. However, challenges such as regulatory barriers, intellectual property disputes, and differing approaches to data governance highlight the need for greater alignment in this area. Climate change is another domain where US-India collaboration holds immense potential. Both nations have made ambitious commitments to reducing greenhouse gas emissions and transitioning to renewable energy, recognizing the existential threat posed by global warming. Modi's visit included discussions on joint efforts to accelerate the deployment of clean energy technologies, enhance climate resilience, and mobilize financing for sustainable development projects. These initiatives align with India's goal of achieving net zero emissions by 2070 and the US's commitment to reaching net zero by 2050. The partnership also reflects a shared understanding that addressing climate change requires not only technological innovation, but also equitable access to resources and support for developing countries. However, disparities in their respective capacities and priorities pose challenges to achieving meaningful progress, necessitating sustained collaboration and mutual accountability. Looking ahead, the US-India relationship is poised to play a pivotal role in shaping the 21st century global order. As two of the world's largest democracies, Their partnership has the potential to serve as a model for fostering peace, prosperity, and sustainability in an increasingly multipolar world. However, realizing this potential will require navigating a complex web of challenges, from geopolitical tensions and economic disparities to domestic political dynamics and cultural differences. Modi's state visit to Washington was a testament to the progress made in overcoming these challenges, but it also highlighted the work that remains to be done. Both nations must continue to engage in open and honest dialogue, addressing their differences while building on their shared values and interests. For India, this means balancing its strategic autonomy with a willingness to deepen cooperation with the US on key global issues. For the US, it means embracing India as a partner with its own unique identity and priorities, rather than viewing it through the lens of traditional alliances. By working together, the US and India can not only strengthen their bilateral relationship, but also contribute to a more stable, equitable, and inclusive global community.